Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel where today we are doing a video that's a little bit more suited to the end of the year, but it's basically fall, right? I mean, I even busted out my black cat earrings, which you can see. So it must be fall, right? If it's fall, it's almost the end of the year. So I can do this video. Um, so, so because it is basically fall, we are going to go ahead and start jumping into some of the end of the year videos that I wanted to do. Last year, I did a couple videos where I talked about the five books that I am the most excited about in some specific genres. I covered science fiction and fantasy and comics. And then in June of this year, I decided if I'm the most excited about these books, I probably should prioritize reading them. And so I did that with fantasy and science fiction. And I have actually almost finished everything on those that appeared in those videos. And it has been so much fun. Like, I just really have enjoyed this. So I'm going to do it again. And I'm going to add in a couple genres because why not? I read other genres. So let's go. So in this video, we're going to talk about the 5 nonfiction books that I am the most excited to read. So let's just jump right in. The very first book is The Simpsons and Their Mathematical Secrets by Simon Singh. Yeah, so my first reaction when seeing this book was just, what? Okay, like I watched The Simpsons as a kid, like much to the chagrin of my mother, who limited us to like one episode a day. But I don't remember any math in there, and apparently that's like it's not as blatantly obvious, but there is a lot of math, like concepts and principles and proofs and theories, and people that are alluded to in this throughout The Simpsons. Just and so Simon Singh is taking a deep dive into a lot of those mathematical theories and talking to the writers about how and why they did this, I think. And everything about this fascinates me, partially because, like, obviously I watched Simpsons as a kid and I don't remember this at all, but also because I'm a math person. Like, I don't think I've ever said this on my channel, but I have a college degree and my degree is in mathematics. Not that I remember anything from college about math because I haven't used my degree since I got it. But like that interest is still very much there. And I am so intrigued by this. And this seems like just one of those like offbeat kind of nonfiction books that I'm probably just going to love. And so I'm so excited to get into it. The second book is A Very Stable Genius, Donald J. Trump's Testing of America by Philip Rucker and Carol Leonnig. I'm not generally into political books about Donald Trump. Like a lot of the books I know have been much more scandal oriented, and I'm just not that interested in it. So when this came about and it was heavily emphasized that this is a very well researched, very in-depth look. Like they looked at hundreds of documents, interviewed hundreds of people, like facts kind of thing. I was very, very interested in this. And like, obviously it's not going to be the entirety of Trump's first term because it was published back in January 2020. But it is at least looking at the first couple years of complete nonsense that we have dealt with. And so I still am very, very interested in reading it. Now, I will say that part of the reason that I don't read much about Donald Trump is because he makes me incredibly angry. And this book has the potential to make me incredibly angry. So there is actually a very real possibility that I will DNF this. But I do really want to read it, at least give it a shot. And if it affects my mental health too much, then I will DNF it. But I'm very interested, so I'm still going to try. The next book is Educated by Tara Westover. So Tara Westover grew up in a very unusual situation. She was born to a family of survivalists. So like she was homeschooled, they grew their own food. If you got hurt, it was treated with herbs, that kind of extreme survivalist kind of thing. And this is really about her story going out into the world and becoming educated, right? Like learning all this stuff that maybe she should have known, some history stuff that she didn't know, like just her journey after leaving her home. And I am so fascinated by people who live extremes like this. And then especially when we get it through the lens of somebody who has left and like kind of gone more mainstream. And so I'm so interested to see what she has to say about, honestly, everything. So there you go. Book 4 is called Twisted, The Tangled History of Black Hair Culture by Emma Dabiri. Now this, I'm just going to read the quote that was on the description because it is a very nice sum up. And it's through the lens of hair texture, Dabiri leads us on a historical and cultural investigation of the global history of racism, and she's also learning to love her own hair. So once I was made aware that Black hair culture is like big and complex and just absolutely rich, I have been very interested in learning more about it. And so when this book came across, when I became aware of this particular book, I immediately was just like, yes, I'm going to be reading that because that is so fascinating to me. And then also looking at that racism through this lens of hair, which is obviously the racism against Black hair is amazingly ridiculous. It's just over the top how racist people are about Black hair. And so I am very interested in learning that history as well. And then the last book we have is From Here to Eternity, Traveling the World to Find the Good Death by Caitlin Doughty. So this book is actually, I'm interested in this. I found out about it from Sajid over at Books Are My Social Life. Great channel, by the way. You should definitely check it out. But I watch Sajid's videos mostly for his personality because our reading tastes pretty much don't overlap at all. But when he started talking about this particular book, I was definitely interested in it. So Caitlin Doughty is actually on YouTube and has her own YouTube channel called Ask a Mortician. And when he mentioned this, I was like, oh, well, of course I'm going to have to check that out. And so I did, and I binge watched a bunch of videos. And I was really struck by how Caitlin Doughty approaches her videos. They are very informative, very accessible, and also incredibly respectful as she tackles a lot of different, she gives a lot of, she talks about the general, like the funeral industry. She talks about iconic, she has a series called Iconic Corpses, like, it's exactly what it sounds like. She has done talked about what happened to the dead in some pretty historical events like the sinking of the Titanic and Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So those kinds of things. And every time she talks about these kinds of things, she is always incredibly respectful. They're very well researched. And as a side note, she has the best millennial humor. So I'm 33 and she's, I think, a couple years older than me. And like the humor is so specific to this particular like age group, not just millennials, but like the subgroup within millennials that's like a couple years older than me to like a couple years younger. And it is so perfect. So back to the actual book. So Sajid said that he had been watching her channel and then he read this book and it was done with the same amount of being like respect. It is the same amount of like being well researched, everything. And so the whole premise is that she's traveling the world to see how other cultures handle their dead and then questioning how America chooses to handle their dead. And so knowing that she's taking that same energy, that being really well researched, being very respectful and informative and everything, and putting it in book format. I was just like, I have to read this. And so I am so excited to get into it. By the way, Ask a Mortician and Sajid's channel, Books Are My Social Life, will be linked down below. But that is it, you guys. Those are the nonfiction books that I am the most excited about. This is actually a really hard list to narrow down. So I'm thinking you're probably going to see a lot more than this in the next year. I will be reading probably a lot of nonfiction. And so, but these are the ones that I am the most excited about. Comment down below. Let me know if any of these look interesting to you. If not, what are some good nonfiction books that you enjoy? I always love seeing what people like to read, especially in nonfiction. But that is all I have. So until next time, have happy reading, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.